I think what happened at that time is 24-year-old actress, Black female, leading, lady, no follow-ups, no roles, basically. So what do? You go back to television. Legacy, oh, legacy. I'm getting the opportunity before I'm really trained to do it. And I think that's what made me so ambitious. I wanted to prove myself. All right, you're the number one. Get what you want. We cool. You have to rise above it. Because at the end of the day, what you have is your work on film forever. But when I spun around and I saw that hair shaking, I said, oh shit, he's nervous.
And this is his show.
It's his show. Legacy, oh, legacy.
All right, well, hello, Lela.
Hello, Lena.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I was flattered.
I'm honored to be talking to you today about your phenomenal legacy, your amazing career, and all the work that you've done up until this point. I'm sure you'll continue to grace our screens. But as I was even thinking about you and your career this morning, I was thinking about my own namesake, who I'm named for. I am named for Lena Horne. And I also think about Dorothy Dandridge. Mm-hmm. And I think about you. I think that you are very much in that lineage, being an on-screen beauty whose beauty is more than skin deep. And I feel like, especially looking at your work, there's an understanding of who you are and where you come from and the significance of your presence on a big screen and sometimes a small screen. Mm-hmm. But you also, I think about on-screen beauties as something to aspire to, something to look at, something to dream about. And I think that you have been that consistently for so many of us. And I think that can also be a burden to bear. And I think it probably isn't always as fun as someone might think it is. So I'm excited to talk to you today.
It's a blessing and a curse.
I'm sure. Usually I like to start these interviews with a project where I first saw the person, where I first laid eyes on you. And for me, I used to watch sitcoms a lot as a kid in the 90s. And it was just sort of a way of life. I just was always hearing a laugh track and seeing, and a lot of Black sitcoms as well, which I'm really grateful for, because I did see myself as a kid. I saw Black folks. And this was a particular sitcom that my family and myself loved a lot. And I think it's actually an unsung sitcom. It's called Amen.
I did not think that was the one. I did not see that coming.
Yes, Amen. was a staple in my house. That theme song, Sherman Hemsley, like I knew about obviously the Jeffersons, but Amen was something that my sister and I got to really meet Sherman Hemsley on. And you play a young bride.
I played a young bride
coming
with
in.
Silk Kozak.
Yes.
Kozak.
Yes, exactly. Who would pop up on A Different World and other things like that. And so it's just it's a quick pop, but you are so light and effervescent and beautiful. And that is actually the first time I saw you. But when I looked back at your resume and I started preparing for this interview, I said, there she is. She's right there. And I was curious, what was that like for you being on that set and looking at Sherman Hemsley, who I'm sure you were familiar with, and having to be surrounded by all that amazing talent on Amen?
You know, it's trippy because I grew up watching the Jeffersons and I've watched Amen, obviously, like everybody, but what's his name? The Reverend Clifton Davis.
Yes.
Growing up, Anna Marie Horsford, Streets of New York, maybe. Like, I've watched all of them. Wow. So for me, I was always sort of in awe, a fan, but quiet because, I didn't want to get found out because I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't really. I wasn't one of those people who grew up, I'm going to be an actor when I grow up. That was not me. That was not my story, not my tale. I majored in journalism. I also have a minor in public relations. And I wanted to be Barbara Walters. That's kind of what I thought I would be. And I danced for fun. And when I was 19, I ended up auditioning and getting a music video. Music videos were brand new.
Vandross?
Luther Vandross, Lionel Richie. And those were like the first ones that played for a million years. And so then people were just like, well, can you act? Sure. Yes, I can. I'm lying. I couldn't act. But I went and studied after that, and I ended up being a theater minor and got my first job actually as a sophomore in college, A Bunny's Tale with Kirstie Alley.
Wow. So did you audition for that part on Amen?
Of course.
Okay, so how did you hear about it? Did you have an agent at the time?
Yeah, Amen was actually later. I think I was probably 24, 25. My first job, I was speaking lead. It was an ABC TV movie called The Bunny's Tale.
Okay.
A true story about Gloria Steinem when she went undercover as a bunny in the club, and I was Bunny Charlotte, the black bunny. And that was my first acting job.
Wow. See, that one, I probably wasn't old enough to watch that one.
Oh, no, probably not.
Was on constantly. And it was just so nice to see you. What do you remember from that day of filming?
Not a lot. I remember a week. And what I remember best about that week was getting to know Anna Maria Horsford.
Wow.
And her being so nice to me. Like nice, like I had a boyfriend I was going to see in the cold, and she lent me her fur coat. Wow. I was like, really? Are you sure you can lend me your fur coat? Yeah, you need to take this for the weekend. I want you to look good, Anna Marie. And I was like, okay. And I brought it back on Monday. Wow. She drove us to McDonald's in her like fancy Aston Martin or something. I just sucked up in it. Like, yeah, girl, show me the ropes.
So it felt fun. It felt exciting.
Fun.
Wow. How was it for you being in front of that live audience?
No pressure. I didn't have a lot to do. I just observed.
So you kind of got baptized by fire, excuse the pun.
Oh, always.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Because also we've talked on this show a lot about multicams and like acting, and that comes up again later for you. But it kind of was that your first multicam gig?
No, my first multicam actually was The Facts of Life.
Right. Okay.
I played a sorority girl.
So you were a little bit used to that, because the thing about multicams, I think people don't always realize, is how loud it can be, and it's almost like athletes at a game where you're performing, but there are people watching and making noise, and you have to sort of zone into what you're doing. And I always find it to be very interesting when I'm watching actors, when I'm on a multicam set, because it is so loud, it is so busy, but you have to just zone it all out.
And I focus. Think what was great then is we had a lot of rehearsals. They got down to 4 days, 5 days, 3 days, but we did 5 days. And so by Friday, you knew it. And you knew it backwards and forwards. And there's 2 shows. So you have to wait for laughter. You have to find your light. You have to hit your mark. You can't be nervous. It's a lot. Sitcoms were a lot of pressure in a way. But I never felt the pressure because I was the guest star.
Right. You feel like you're a guest in somebody else's house. Awesome. That's amazing. Well, this next credit we're going to talk about is a very special movie in that it means so much to Black people. And I think that over the years, it continues to mean even more. And you are in it for a very short period of time. And you're wearing a yellow dress. And I like to call it a miracle. The fact that this movie even happened and the way in which you show up in the film.
And I'm wearing yellow all the time.
I mean, it's
because
your name is Sunshine.
Yes.
And we're talking about Harlem Nights.
Yes.
How does this amazing... It's interesting. I don't believe in small roles or small parts. We always know that's not true. But how does this miracle of a role manifest in your life?
I mean, it's funny you say small roles, because for me, that was huge. It was huge. It was big, because I think Eddie had done Coming to America right before that, and I wasn't able to get an audition for that. And by the time Harlem Nights came around, Robbie Reed was casting, and, we had a person of color casting who knew who we were, and she got me in on that. And Eddie was directing, which was another thing. Right. And so, as usual, they're seeing everybody. And I read 3 times. I tested with 2 different guys, and he handpicked me for that. And so it was huge. Like for me, a feature film, Eddie Murphy film, at that time with Red Fox, Stella Reese, like legends, Richard Pryor,
Yes.
legends. I was excited. And there were only 2 females in it, really, 3. So it was a big, big deal. Everybody wanted the sunshine role and Eddie's love interest.
Sure.
But he was very specific on what he wanted.
Fall is one of my favorite seasons. The crisp air, cozy sweaters, and warm flavors just make everything feel good. It's the perfect time to reset and bring healthy habits back into focus. And with Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for clean eating, you can do just that. With 80+ dietitian-approved weekly meal options, Green Chef makes it easy to find meals that fit your lifestyle. Pick from a variety of dietary preferences: high protein, plant-based, calorie smart, Mediterranean, and even gluten-free to suit you and your family's needs. Green Chef recipes feature fresh, organic, seasonal produce and 100% responsibly sourced proteins to help you feel your best. The recipes change every week, and with week-to-week flexibility, you can adjust your plan to match your mood and your schedule. I recently tried the lemon maple salmon with parsley couscous. The perfectly sized fillets coupled with the incredibly delicious lemon maple pan sauce made every bite enjoyable. The tender couscous sprinkled with fresh parsley and lemon zest, alongside sauteed cauliflower, seasoned with the savory paprika and orange spice, blend made for a perfect fall meal. More importantly, it was easy to make and delicious to eat. Make this fall your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50legacytalk and use the code 50legacytalk to get 50% off your first month. Then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50legacytalk at greenchef.com/50legacytalk. I mean, well, he obviously has a fantastic eye, you know. What were you thinking about during that audition process?
What was I thinking? Well, I read the role and, it was a lot of pressure, sunshine. And the breakdown said, real life Jessica Rabbit. And I said, real life Jessica Rabbit, what would that mean? And I said, you see Jessica Rabbit as a cartoon. So I tried to look as sexy as I thought I could look. I wore a vintage dress because it was the 40s. I had this beautiful sort of white sequence Marilyn Monroe type dress on. I had the big heels on because he said she was also supposed to be super tall. Super tall. And then inside, eternally, I thought she would have the energy of Marilyn Monroe. So that's where it came. Richie, that was my version of Marilyn Monroe. That was my interpretation of Sunshine, because she was a manipulator, and you would think she would be like, I think the trap on the page was like the sexy vixen, but for her to manipulate, she would be innocent and sexy and sweet and manipulating. And that's kind of the way I played it.
Wow, it's so beautiful and so fascinating. When you got this opportunity, what did you think it would do for your career? Did you kind of think that this would be it?
I thought that was it. Couldn't tell me that was it. That was it. First of all, the way movies were done then. I remember going into the first wardrobe fitting, and they had drawings of me in every costume. Hand drawings. And I said, oh my gosh, do I get to keep these? And they were like, maybe you could keep these. I never got them, And I think that may be the only Oscar nomination that got Best Costume. And it was just done in such a big way, a table read with 50 actors and on the sound stage and, expensive rap parties and just all of it. It was just huge. And I think what happened at that time is 24-year-old actress, Black female, leading, lady, no follow-ups, no roles, basically. So what do? You go back to television. And I remember right after that, I was offered a soap opera. And I changed my mind 3 times on the day of the test to go. And finally decided, no, let me just give it a little bit more time. And they said, Lela, when you do that, please be sure next time. I've called them back 3 times. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I just wanted to make the right choice. I couldn't go from that movie to a soap opera where I could just stay to eternity. I was like, nah,
Right.
I need the money, but maybe that's not a good decision.
Well, I mean, here's the interesting thing about Harlem Nights is that critics did not quite get it. Is
No.
that fair? And
Very fair, but they gave me a good review.
yeah, you're, a bright spot in this film. But here's an interesting thing about Black folks. We loved it. We were like, this is great. This is amazing.
We ended up loving it.
We loved it.
Mhm.
Like I wasn't old enough to see it in the theater, but VHS, we would watch it all the time. It would come on TV. It meant so much to us. And we've since heard Eddie Murphy talk about maybe taking on too much. It's a period piece, a big cast, him directing it. He's sort of since come out and said there are parts of it that obviously he wishes he could have made better. But it is this sort of
27 years old.
Yeah.
And that, I think it was part of a little bit of Eddie bashing because he wrote it, he directed it, he starred in it. People had a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
It is, but I think that's why to me the movie is very archival and a stamp about who we once were, literally. And also it becomes a stamp of who we were then in Hollywood.
Right.
And he did have that kind of power. He could surround himself with the legends he looked up to that were now alongside him. And then obviously some younger folks that he wanted to introduce to us.
Right.
I just felt like as a young person, I really was so inspired by the movie. And I loved looking at all of you in those costumes, seeing your talent. And there's also, this feels like there's a camaraderie on set. Was that happening on set? Were you all sort of surprised or excited that this was happening? Or was it just sort of normal at the time?
It was happening all around me. I'll say that. They would forget I was there sometimes. And then Richard and Red and Eddie would start cracking jokes and they would get into the woman jokes and the this and that. And I would just sit there like, oh, they done forgot I'm in the car. They had forgotten I'm in the car. But yeah.
Wow. So you did think that after Harlem Nights that things would be different for you because of how high profile that movie was.
Right.
Wow. So when it came out, did your team talk to you? Were you having conversations, or was it just, this is the reality and I got to get back on the grind?
Well, first of all, Lena, there was no team. I had an agent.
Like no damn team.
And then I tried to do what I thought was right, get a publicist who really couldn't give me much. And I even remember going, and I must say it. I remember going up to Arsenio and saying, Arsenio, when are you going to have me on the show? You need to get some other projects first. You need to do, when you're a little bigger, later. Later never came. Later never came.
Wow.
It's just, it's a diss. But
real.
I was like, but you've had Jasmine Guy on 3 times.
Whoop.
Oh, I would tell him.
Come on. I love it. Look. Okay, so look, you got back into TV. There's an episode of this show that I think is very interesting because I actually watched this episode in preparation for another guest, and that guest was Loretta Devine. She appeared on an episode of Rock. And preparing for her interview, I watched this episode and I was pleasantly surprised to see you in the same episode as a love interest for Rock's brother.
Rocky Carroll.
Yes. Here's my question. Did you and Loretta cross paths while recording this live taping of Rock?
We met on Rock. That's where I met Loretta. And we spent, like we say, a week together, all day, every day for a week. And I really liked her. She really liked me. And we knew each other from Rock. And that episode was really special because they decided to go live.
Yes.
So that was the first live episode. And, we exchanged numbers, I think, but never saw her again until Exhale.
I mean, what a divine thing.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
She is divine.
Yes, but I couldn't believe it. Just as I was prepping and looked up the season and the episode, and that where she made her first appearance on the show. And then I'm just watching it and I'm like, what is that?
Who was Loretta playing? I don't remember.
She played Ella's friend from work.
Okay.
'Cause it was about her birthday.
Oh.
And it's Rock comes in mistaking you for his wife, trying to wish her happy birthday, and you turn around to someone. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And you had stayed over because you were dating his his brother, and you're making breakfast.
Right.
And he's like, oh, don't kick her out yet. Wait till the blueberry pancakes are ready.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. What was that experience like shooting live? Because people do it every now and then, in TV. It is kind of scary because there's no net, but it was good because that intro is still there of Rock telling the audience this is a very special episode because this is we're like there's no safety net, folks.
It was scary, and we were all scared.
And you're in the first scene.
I'm in the first scene. I'm in the opening scene.
Yes.
And can I tell you what I remember about that?
Please.
It's like you said. I remember being at the kitchen and I spin around, right?
Right.
And when I spin around and I look at Charles Dutton, his head was shaking. And I was like,
because he's nervous.
And he's nervous. And when I saw his head shaking, it calmed me down. I said, oh, he's nervous. And I just said the next line. And then I was fine after that. But when I spun around and I saw that head shaking, I said, oh shit, he's nervous.
And this is his show.
It's his show. But all the pressure was on him. I had one big scene and that was that.
Wow. So, and then later, Loretta pops up, but I just remember thinking the both of you being in that episode and it being a special episode.
Live on Fox.
I mean, but you got one of the original Dream Girls here who probably doesn't care.
Loretta was always reading a book.
Okay.
She was always reading a book. I'm like, what you reading? A Time to Kill? I was like, okay, she reading in between scenes. Okay.
She's like, please, I'm done Broadway. This is nothing.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Well, it's a great episode, and I'm glad I can talk to you about it as well. Wow. I mean, well, this is a very special moment for me to talk about this credit because this movie changed my life. It did. It showed me who I wanted to be in the world, for better or for worse. I looked up to Marcus Graham probably more than I should have. But here we are. And the movie I'm talking about, of course, is Boomerang.
Boomerang.
I've seen that movie so much, so many times.
A lot of people have. It's one you can watch a lot. Everybody's in it.
I don't call many movies perfect, but in my mind, I think that one is. Even with all of its stuff that it comes with. Because look, I mean, in terms of how women are treated in the movie, it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
But it is also a time capsule. It is the 90s. Okay?
In full effect.
It is, but it is also daring.
Mm-hmm.
And it was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And also critics didn't understand that movie either. Eddie,
no, they did not. I don't remember them loving that one either.
And for us, again, it is another jewel for us in our cinematic history, I think, in terms of, again, Eddie doing that thing that he does very well, which is to marry our legends and also our new faces in films. He really is an educator in that. He's going to let us know who Eartha Kitt is, even if we're not familiar. He's going to make sure we're aware that Grace Jones exists in the world. But he's also going to remind us of who Lela Rochon is as well, as you come in and you play the character that you play. I mean, Christy. What's interesting about it is very rarely do people strike lightning twice. And for some reason, Eddie is able to strike a really beautiful lightning with you. He had already done it once in Harlem Nights. How surprised were you to get a call? Did you get a call? That's my question. Or did you have to come in and audition?
Do you notice the movie career is just going with Eddie movies because he's the only one doing them with roles for me, which is interesting.
Wow. Which is a Black beauty, truly, who has comedic timing and who is more than just a beautiful face. And obviously Eddie's really, I think, good at seeing past your beauty and seeing your talent clearly.
Yeah, he gave me the funny one. You know what's really interesting about that movie is originally, the movie, it's being done, you want the lead. And they're like, oh, no, you did Harlem Nights. You can't do another one. You already did Harlem Nights. Oh, well, okay, I can't do that one. So I do a sitcom. I get this sitcom at Fox with Morris Day and Jerome called Hotel Dix. And
again, it's the 90s.
The 90s. I signed for 7 episodes. They're hotel detectives. I work at the hotel. And I swear, I think we did 2 and we got canceled. And that was my first experience. Like, oh, I get a check for all 7? Okay, I'm off to the next job. And I remember that was my first experience with that. And we had our parking spaces with our names.
Wow.
When we went back to get our stuff out of the dressing rooms, parking space was already painted over.
Come on,
I was like, wow. And then that fast. And then so my agent goes, well, I don't know if they're reconsidering and they may go with you for the Robin Givens role. And I was like, ooh, look at God. But that ended up working out. And they said, well, we have another role, Christy. And when I read it, I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, okay, I'm going to kill this. I like this.
Wow.
I was, you never get over it, right? Like, I want to be the star. I want to be the lead. But the trailer is all me and Eddie. And it's what people remember, which is crazy.
I don't think it's crazy at all.
For 100 years. I can't see your feet. Can't see your toes.
But I mean, how crazy to eclipse Sunshine with another iconic character. And I was curious, was it frustrating to not be the lead role, but yet be the woman that everybody seems to remember?
It was very frustrating because, I thought I deserved the lead, but I also am an actor and I look at the character and what they're really looking for. And I think Robin was great in that role. She was amazing. That was her role. It wasn't for me. And I thought Hallie was where she should have been. And, I was where I was. And I think for me, I just went into that movie trying to do the best I could be in that role. And I remember going in there for the costume fitting, because for me, it starts in my own creativity of who I think she is. And they said, oh, you're going to be walking this dog, and this is what we have for you. And they had a Dalmatian dog, and they had a Dalmatian coat. And I'm like, that's ugly.
Wow.
I was like, that's what you want me to wear? I said, well, that's the dog we like. We really like the Dalmatian. I said, do you have any other dogs? So they started showing me pictures, and I was like, that dog. I'm not even a dog person. And so Francine, the wardrobe stylist, she says, costume, what do you call it?
Costume designer.
Costume designer.
Yes.
Let me not insult.
Oh, you all good.
Costume designer. She says, well, will you go shopping with me? I said, I can go shopping. I can pick my own clothes. She goes, yeah, I love that you'll yes, let's do it. So we went all over Manhattan, and her and I together picked that outfit. Wow. I said, I want to be monochromatic. I want to have on white. I want to be with the dog. And we had to fight for it because you don't wear white on film. Oh, we'll put a little cream beige scarf and you'll get to wear the white. Like, that was all me.
Wow. Well, it's iconic. I mean, from the song, obviously they're playing with the whole idea of dog and chasing them, all that kind of stuff. But the fact that he has to see you from so far away. I mean, he actually sees you, you're outside.
Right.
And it takes him outside.
Well, who walks their dog looking like that?
I mean, Christy.
Christy, apparently.
She's got a whole backstory, and then also she comes up again in conversation. They're like, what happened to the girl? He looks like David Allen Greer. Martin was like, she was beautiful, man.
The scene after that is the funniest scene in the movie. At the premiere, they were on the ground at that scene.
It's just, but I think what is so fascinating about Boomerang is really that the women are really the paint that obviously Reginald Hudlin, who I love, is using to really tell this story. Reginald Hudlin is a huge hero of mine and someone that, we went and tried to do the series Boomerang. We want to continue that legacy over at BT. And Reginald came in and gave us his blessing, and he, of course, remembers it so fondly. How was it being directed by him?
It was fun. It was a good time. I loved Reginald and his brother Warrington, who was a producer.
Right. Harlem Brothers.
But I think they really gave us a lot of creative freedom.
Clearly.
Eddie and I, it was, what do you guys think? Well, what do you guys want to do? And what I liked about Reginald is because I think it was only his second film, he was open. He listened to me. When I said I didn't like the Dalmatian outfit, he was like, okay. When I said, and then I remember going back to LA, I remember working out with a trainer really hard. I thought I was looking good. And I was like, you gonna shoot all this, right? You gonna shoot all this. I think I should turn around in this dress, and I think you should shoot my butt and pan up my legs. I think it would look really good. He was like, okay.
He's like, I mean, we're gonna get
okay, Missy. Okay. I was like, because I've been working hard, and I want you to show all of this.
Wow. I mean, well, the scene of you two sitting at a piano, right? You're
Oh,
sitting at a
yeah.
piano. And it's so interesting because storytelling wise, they're showing us his game. So that way we see it not work later with Robin Givens' character.
Yes.
What were you thinking about going into that day of filming, having just to go toe to toe with Eddie Murphy?
I never looked at it that way because I respected him so much. He sort of, I guess in a way, was a mentor because my first film is Harlem Nights, where he's my director, and now he's my co-star, but he is the number one. So I just tried to show up. I tried to be really clear on where I am in that scene, and it's just acting. Once the camera's rolling and you're in it, you throw everything else away. He's not Eddie, he's Marcus, I'm Christy, we're here, we're on a date, this is real, You just go in, and I don't think about anything else.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a jump, too, to go from Sunshine to Christy, because there is a bit of a Marilyn Monroe-esque energy that's sort of coming through, but it's different. It's not the same. So how are you able to differentiate that character, Christy, obviously, because it's two Eddie Murphy movies, and you want to make sure I'm not doing the same character. Clearly, one is in a period piece and one is modern. But what are you thinking about as an actor to make sure people know, yes, the same actress, yes, it's Eddie again, but Christy is her own character. Yes, wardrobe helped, but I'm curious what you were thinking about in terms of her internal story.
I didn't even think of it that way. I didn't worry about Harlem Nights. It didn't even cross my head at all.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring Christy to life of who I thought she was. And I thought the way for me to play that would be that she's dumb. She's dumb. She's an airhead. She's like, okay. When she says knock, knock.
Gold star.
Gold star for Marcus. She's dead ass serious.
Yeah.
She's dead ass serious.
That's why it works.
That's why it works. And I studied people I love, like Lucille Ball.
Mm-hmm.
She was serious. When she burnt the toast and she was crying to Ricky, she was serious. And I think that's the only way that it works. Yeah. How they say, if you believe it, we believe it.
Yeah, so committed. And the thing is it's interesting because, yes, she's not the brightest bulb in the box.
No, she's not.
But you're not laughing at her. Mm-hmm. She's clearly beautiful and she's just this amazing energy and she's fun to watch. And I think a lot of that has to do with what you bring to her. Because I think that's why the character stays with us. Mm-hmm. And Sunshine, too. I think it's because you're bringing a humanity to these women. Because
we know that girl.
Yes. Yeah. She ain't got to be that smart. She's like, look how I look, okay? And I'm nice. I'm kind. Because she cares. She's like, how's the dog?
Right.
She's a dog person.
Right.
It's amazing.
And afterwards, she's going to be fine.
She's going to be all right.
Get another date.
Christy going to be cool. Okay, Christy's surviving. Christy got a bunch of dogs. You do go back to TV though, mm-hmm. and this time you're surrounded by comedic heavyweights again, the Wayans Brothers.
A lot of comedies back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you are holding your own with, I think, some of our comedy legends. Wayans Brothers are nothing to sneeze at. And you play in the pilot, look at the pilot, you play Sean's girlfriend. And you also go toe to toe with Marlon. Yeah. And there's a funny bit about this hair product that does not smell great.
Goop, there it is.
Yes. Goop, there it is. That Sean is trying to sell on like what is it? Like when they're trying to sell stuff on TV. He's like, he's gonna get rich quickly. And you are in that first season. You're there and you're very present. What is it like to no longer being a guest on the multicam, but being a part of the main cast?
Every time, there are pilots in between all of this and guest star work and all that, I'm just wanting to hit. Like, can I get a sitcom? Like, what do I have to do to get a sitcom? I've starred in movies.
Yeah.
And there's no movie follow-up because there's really no roles at that time. Not a lot. And so, well, can I just get a good job? You know, it was about some stability. And just getting a hit sitcom, you would think it would be easy. It was rough. And I remember reading the Wayans Brothers, and I didn't really love it for me because I just thought, oh God, Lisa. The name was always Lisa or Denise. It was one of those.
Christy, Lisa.
Yeah, it was one of those. And I was like, she didn't do anything but come in every week and say, baby, are you all right? That's the way I felt.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't want to do this. And my friend was like, are you crazy? You don't have a job.
I like this friend.
Like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm a homeowner, but I don't have a job. It's okay. Something will come along. And she's like, I think you should do it because I think it's going to lead to something else. You know, sometimes your homegirls have to tell you what time it is. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And I had to read.
Wow.
Several times.
Wow.
And I don't think I was the producer's choice, but I was Sean and Marlon's choice.
Wow.
And I got that job. And you know what? After I got it, I felt happy. I had stability. This is good. And then you know what happened after that, right?
Well, I know you're no longer in the season. The show continues. You know, the Wayans Brothers went for like a few seasons, and you are only in that season 1.
I'm only in season 1 because they were doing this little movie called Waiting to Exhale.
Well, we're gonna get to that because my question is, you know, look, I got to talk about this movie with Loretta Devine when she was here, and Waiting to Exhale, in my opinion, shifted culture.
It did.
It just, I remember being a young person and understanding the significance of what was happening because of my Black mother, who was a single mother, and her friends who were also dating, some married, some divorced, some with children, some without.
Right.
And I remember that book being in my home, and I just recall it being more than a movie because it was more than a book. It was something that was giving voice to Black women in a way that just hadn't happened before. And in preparation for this, I did watch the movie again I've lost count. But it's always a joy to watch it again. It's always a joy. I got to see, my mom was like very kind. She let me go tail along. I mean, multiple times seeing the movie in the movie theater. That was how it was. Like you would go to the movies twice, 3 times to go see this film, particularly a film like this, because you felt like you were surrounded by community. You were around people that knew you and understood you. And it was the 4 of you, all 4 of you, that made that movie something that would really last forever and will forever be a part of your legacy. So I just want to say that I'm grateful to be talking to you about this movie. And I'm curious, is that why you did leave the Wayans Brothers show, or just would it sort of become all too much, a TV show and a movie coming together at the same time in your career?
I think it was mutual. But what happened was I heard about Waiting to Exhale. And for whatever reason, I didn't even think like, girl, you're on a TV show. How are you going to go do that movie? I didn't even think about that. I was like, oh, I got to read for that because I had read the book and I read it, years before. And I thought, when I read the book, I thought, I loved it so much. I said, if they ever make this a movie, I want to be one of these women. I said, I'm not old enough now, but maybe I'll be old enough by the time they make the movie.
Wow.
And I think in the book, my character's maybe 36. When I made the movie, I was 30.
Oh.
And so I heard about it. Of course, I wasn't getting an audition for it. And I heard they were struggling to find the girl. I knew they had found Whitney Houston.
Of course.
They had found Angela Bassett. But there was no Robin yet. And I was like, oh, it's still happening. And so one day I was in the wardrobe room, which seems to be where I always gravitate, wardrobe.
I love it. Okay.
And I'm like complaining to the stylist, Valerie Adams. I'm like, They won't see me for waiting to exhale, and I'm so mad about it. Da, 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 da. She goes, oh, really? Terry McMillan's my best friend. What? Really? Yeah, she's my best friend. I've known her 20 years. And immediately you think, she lying. She don't know Terry McMillan, does she really? She said, oh, I'm going to call her right now. You know, back then we had phones.
Yeah, landline.
She calls from the phone in the dressing room. It's Terry. She goes, oh, she wants to talk to you. I'm like, she wants to talk to you? You know, then you get nervous, like she wants to talk to me. And I'm going, oh, shit. And I'm like, hi, Terry. It's Lela. She goes, yeah, I know who you are. I saw you in Boomerang. You're foxy. I know who you are. I said,
Classic.
I said, but they won't see me for your movie. I think I'm so great and so right for Robin. I said, I know what that is. I could play a dingbat really well. She was like, well, first of all, she's not a dingbat.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal impersonation of Terry McMillan, by the way.
And I was like, she's not a dingbat.
This is
And
right.
then I was
Come on,
like,
that's right.
I'm
You're talking
thinking-
to the author now.
I'm like, oh shit, I just said the wrong
That's
thing.
her character.
Oh God. And then
Wow.
she said, she starts explaining who she is. I said, I'm listening, And she said, well, I can't guarantee you, but I will talk to Forrest. And maybe I can do something. By Monday, that was Friday night show. By Monday morning, I had an audition. Then it was like, how am I going to sneak out and get there? So then I had to butter up the PA, and I'm like, yeah, Ken Whittingham. Ken, I have this big audition, please. Can you like do my scene at this time, and I'm going to sneak out at lunch, and I'm going to do this, and that. He was like, okay, I'll do it for you one time. And so, needless to say, it was 19 pages. And
The audition page.
the audition is 19 pages.
Come
And
on.
I said, you know what? This is big. This is huge. I'm going to make sure I know every word. And I worked on what I was doing. I saw my acting coach because I got one. And we worked out what she was and who she was and what we thought she was. And then I had to go back again. And he was like, I don't think I can get you out. I was like, you have to. I'm like damn near crying. You have to let me out. So he sneaks and lets me out. Then I get the movie. How am I going to get out of the Wayans Brothers? How am I going to work this out? And then Forrest says to me, he said, well, but you're on a show, right? I said, yeah, but we only tape on Fridays. It's Phoenix. It's an hour away. I could do both. I could do it. And so what happened was my manager at the time, God bless him, Bernie Brillstein, called Les Moonves, president of Warner Brothers, and said, you have to do this for me. I need you to let her out. And so they worked it out where I would fly back and forth, and maybe I might only rehearse one day and shoot on Friday. And then, I think the show ended like maybe March. And Exhale we did from January to May. So once we finished, they kind of saved a lot of my stuff for the end. They worked it out. And I didn't go back. They worked it out.
Okay, first of all, I want to shout out the costume designer at Wayans Brothers. Can we get her name one more time?
Valerie Adams, that's my girl.
An angel. And I also want to shout out the PA again, Ken. You said
Ken Whittingham, now a director.
Okay, that's what I was saying. I was like, I know that name.
Yes.
I just want to shout those two people out.
Yes.
Thank them. Shout out to the Wayans Brothers, the people at Warner Brothers for letting you out.
And by the way, I was carrying around with me a folder and a typed letter to Forrest Whitaker, asking everybody, "Do you know him?
Wow.
Do you know him?"
I want to ask, what were the scenes that you had to audition with?
One scene I had to do is not in the film, actually.
Okay.
And it's, I forgot how I got the movie, huh? This was trippy. So in the book, Robin had a weave down to her butt, supposedly. And so I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to wear a wig. Wigs weren't big then. They weren't a thing. I got me a wig from Crenshaw, and I had that wig looking like my hair. And when I did the scene, she's exercising. And I think it's in the beginning where I'm eating the ice cream and you kind of meet my character and I'm talking to myself. We all talk to ourselves and stuff. So I'm doing the scene and I'm working out and I'm talking about Russell and all the things I did for him. And I'm mad, I'm this. And then I sit down, I said, shoot. And I pull the wig off. I said, what a girl got to do? Or, whatever I said, the line. And I just kept going. And they were like, what the? Oh, I went there. Wow. because I wanted to be true to the character. This is what you do in your apartment by yourself alone. This is what we do.
Right. Wow.
And they said when I pulled the wig out at the screen test, when the studio watched it, the room erupted.
Amazing. You got real. Okay. I'm also struck by the fact that when you got on the phone with Miss McMillan, which I'm sure was somewhat nerves, that, and also you talk about the roles that you had played up until that point. Even she saying, like, I know you are. I know you, because people, we know you. We've seen you, she's seen you in Boomerang. She's seen you clearly in Harlem Nights.
Mm-hmm.
And you are playing a bit of a Marilyn Monroe-esque type of woman. And even you said, oh yeah, I can play the dingbat.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd read the book,
Mm-hmm.
and in the book, of course, Terry McMillan has painted really beautiful pictures of these four women, very different women. And it's interesting that you initially thought of Robin one way.
Mm-hmm.
And what's exciting is I want to talk to you about 3 very specific scenes of yours in the film that have always been moving to me and interesting and inspiring to me as a writer and as a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And your performance in Waiting to Exhale really is something to be studied, because you are the beautiful woman that everybody thinks, well, you probably got all these men at your door. But the truth is, she lacks self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And as beautiful as she is, she has a low self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that is very difficult to play, that you seem to breathe life into in a way that continues to stand to this day. So the first scene I'd like to talk about is a scene with you and Wendell Pierce.
Okay. I will say this before we get into that, is it's funny you say that, and that was my initial reaction, that she was a dingbat, right? Because I read the book. It had been years since I read the book. But Terry always goes deeper. And you have to go, well, why does she appear like this on the outside? What's inside of her that's making her make these choices? So when she said that, it caused me to look at Robin deeper and why she does what she does and why she feels the way she feels, because she's a beautiful woman who's being used and abused by men. Men want to conquer her. Yes. They don't want to marry her. They want to conquer her. And it was something about Robin at the time that I was connecting to in my personal life. Oh yeah, everybody want to go out with Sunshine, but am I your girlfriend? Or am I just somebody you want to show off as a date? And I was sort of struggling with it personally. And Forrest will tell you, he said, but yeah, you forgot, you came in my office and you cried, telling me how much you knew who this girl was. And I said, oh yeah, I did do that, huh? He said, yeah, so show me who she is.
Oof.
And with Wendell, we shot that over 2 days. Wendell Pierce was on top of me for 2 days.
Hey, now.
In 110-degree weather in Phoenix.
Ooh, it was a sweat because he definitely used no water.
Oh, he was dripping. His little glasses were poodling and the drip from the... And I had all this body makeup. I'm sorry, it's not all real. It's body makeup. I'm like, can you chisel these abs? Can you... I'm going in little cleavage, I'm all this. And Forrest played a trick on us. He told me and Loretta we had to be nude in the movie. And we were ready for that. Wow. And then I got ready to do it. And I came out with the garters and the this and the that. He goes, oh, no, that's enough. You good. I was like, okay, what? I don't have to be naked? Oh, God. It just I was lifted. Wow. I gotten out of that my whole career.
But you were willing to for this. I
was willing to. This was like, I had my talk with mom and dad. This is it. I'm going to take it all off. This is it.
For Miss McMillan, yes.
Yes. And so Wendell, when he does the scene where he drops me on the bed, he did it by accident. And Forrest's like, cut. And I fought for that. I said, no, that's funny.
I mean, it's hilarious.
I said, that's funny.
Wow.
And Forrest is a deep thinker. He had to think about that. And he goes, well, we'll do one that way. And when he did it, when we intentionally did it, we kind of did it as a joke. And it works. And I think I always kind of went back to comedic instincts, even though it's very serious. And we did that scene and it turns real.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of turned real, and it turned real in a really good way, because that scene right there, I knew who she was. I wanted all those things that Robin wanted at that time in my life. I wanted to be married. I wanted kids. I wanted a house. I wanted this. I wanted that. Those were my dreams. So that scene was really easy for me. And the sex scene was hard. It was just hard for both of us because it's awkward. Wendell's sweating. He's got on a t-shirt. He's damn near fully clothed. Yeah. I'm naked, almost.
Of course. Yeah.
But he was so sweet and so kind. I think he gave me perfume in my dressing room. And the men were lovely on that film. They were sending us roses and flowers. And how many boyfriends you got? And what'd you get today from Gregory Hines? What'd you get?
Wow. I mean, it's always been a stunning scene. And I think it's because of how much happens in one scene.
It's a 9-minute scene.
It is its own movie.
It's 9 minutes.
It is its own short film. And it just takes us into your world. I just think Waiting to Exhale, when you look at it, it is just classic cinema. Classic cinema. Because to open on you, like, you're glorious, you're beautiful, you're just all these things. But your character is giving him a chance, because you're like, look, you never know, okay? Who knows where
she's a wounded little bird.
Yes.
She's wounded and she's vulnerable, and she just wants to be loved. Yes. And loved back, because she has so much love to give. She just wants to be loved. Yeah. And that's anybody who will treat her nice and take her out to dinner and be nice to her.
Right.
So she gives him a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, but also I found it interesting when she's later with her friends in the classic scene where they're out and
the nightclub.
Yes. And Michael rolls up, and
with another
woman. But there's something interesting that she says why she fired him, and she's like, well, he was talking marriage, so. And it's interesting because I actually heard that line differently for the first time.
As you get older, you see a lot of it differently.
Yeah. Me watching it at 40?
Yes.
Now?
I understood the movie years later better than I understood doing it. And I'm like,
yeah.
Because you've lived, you understand it. And she lies. She lies, and a lot of women often lie. I used to have a thing my friend would say when a guy broke up with me or we broke up, I would always say, she would say, what happened to so-and-so? I was like, girl, he make me sick. That was almost my life.
What does that mean? It's like,
make me sick. I don't like it.
Right, don't worry about it. I don't know. But the question, so she was lying. So, because when she said he was talking marriage, I was wondering, she was saying that when someone did try to show up for her, she didn't know how to embrace it. Or did he move on?
What happens is there's a quick scene.
At work,
where she chumps him in front of her bosses, and she doesn't like it. It pissed her off. And it pissed her enough off where it turned her off. So she's done with him. And I think that's probably more clear in the book, but it was that little thing that it was like, no, because Robin's interesting. She also has an ego.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, no, he didn't chump me at work or whatever she says, So she's mad. So you assume like that was him. But then when she sees him with another girl and Angela's character, Gloria, rubs it in, did you see Michael?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, she saw.
It's like, it's a dig, because even though I dumped him, I'm still mad about it. Like, he's moving on way too fast. He just, got somebody like that.
Right. There's also a moment, too, where Gloria says the person Bernadine is flirting with is married.
Yes.
And Robin says, and?
Right. Because she's that girl, too.
Right.
She's that girl, too. Because Leon's character is married.
And
yes. She doesn't care. Does he love her? Well, I think what I think about Robin is Russell was who she was in love with.
Correct.
And she really can't be happy with any other relationship because she loves Russell.
Right. Who happens to be married.
Who happens to be married. So the truth is, Russell is blocking her blessing. Russell's in the way. And that's what happens, when you have young girls and you spend your time with somebody who's not available to you. It's called dating unavailable men. You're blocking your blessing of who you're supposed to meet. And many women do that. And that's what Robin was doing.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why she's so relatable and why so many women continue to watch the movie again and again and see pieces of themselves that they didn't even know were there. I also love the voiceover at the end of that scene with you and Wendell, where we really get inside Robin's head and we hear about how important that night was just for it to be perfect, even if it just was an imagination or just this one night. It was a really beautiful scene. The next scene I want to talk to you about is a scene I like to refer to as the Romeo and Juliet scene in the movie. And because you're on a balcony, he walks up. It's the score, the chemistry, the look. It is, again, classic cinematic like beauty. And I'm curious how much conversation went into that scene and how much rehearsal happened in order for that scene to work the way it does so beautifully.
Well, I think we got a chance to rehearse, which is number one. I think we flew to Phoenix and rehearsed for 2 or 3 weeks. So we got to rehearse. And Michael T. was the veteran because Michael T. and Dennis Haysbert, they were shooting Heat with De Niro and Pacino at the time. And, they were shooting Heat and we're coming down to do this little movie with you, So but I'm looking at them like, yeah, they're the big dogs. Yeah, they're the real deal. Like, I got to show up, I have a scene with Michael T.,
Yes.
And so all I could come to was where my character was in that moment. And, that's him. He's a drug addict. She's dating a drug addict. And she didn't know that at first. Not at first.
She learns at the white party.
She learns at the white party. And, she also learns later he stole her wallet.
Savannah had to tell her.
Yeah, and she picked him up in the grocery store.
And look, and as he said, be careful who you pick up in grocery stores next time.
Yes. And that rings true to me because actually one of the exercises my acting coach had me do for that movie was to put that wig on, to put on a mini skirt, to put on the highest heels I had and walk through the mall, the Beverly Center. I want you to walk through all day and I want you to feel what she feels and who she is.
Wow.
Because this is who she is. How do you feel as her? What does that feel like? Do you like men staring at you? Does it make you uncomfortable? Do you relish in it? I had to find her. And that was one of the ways that I went out to find her.
Wow. What did you find doing that experiment?
That Robin really had no fear at all. She wanted to look good all the time. And she really put a lot into that. And that was to get a man. She was obsessed with getting a man. What we didn't have in the movie, we shot it, but the movie was just too long, is her daddy. She had daddy issues. She was looking for that love from daddy.
Look, I mean, I'm sad that scene didn't make it, but I do think without it, we can see so much of that in your performance. And I think that comes through. And I think what's so interesting is that you're so great at comedy and humor. Because even in that scene with you and Michael T., it's actually very devastating because also in the scene she finds out he has a son that she didn't know about. And she's been dating him for a bit and she thinks it's kind of serious. And also you find out that she's been waiting for 2 hours. And so she is dressed. And to think about the 2-hour wait and what that was.
And I think every woman knows what that feels like.
She's like, I'm not going. And she does stand up and you look like $1 million. And this is who is coming to pick her up. And with the leather vest in the summertime.
In the summertime.
I mean.
And that was his character choice. And I looked down and I saw him in that leather vest. And I thought to myself, what is Michael T. doing? Why would you make that choice right now? It's hot.
Because you know what? He's got other things on his mind.
That's what his character will wear.
Yes.
He's probably been out since last night.
How much true? How much of that was on the page, and was there anything that you two were allowed to add in that scene?
The scene on the balcony, not a lot was on the page. Your son, careful we pick up at grocery stores, all those in the
Was
scene.
it a white
But
woman line?
then yes,
He
a
came
white
up-
woman can have your sorry ass. Yes,
That was you.
that was Terry McMillan.
Oh, okay, got it.
That was Terry McMillan
Clocked.
for
Okay.
sure.
Understood.
But the leather wearing in the summertime, need a shave having stinky ass home was me. And he threw some ad libs up at me.
He
I
did.
was not going to be outdone. So, we're shooting 35 millimeter in film. We got plenty of time. Let me go sit in my chair and think of me some good lines. And then I started asking the crew for help. You got some good lines? You got some lines? What could I say?
You throwing out shot on 35 millimeter film as if it's just an aside. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think
No more.
I think that's why, and watching it again, it is so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And it just, you can feel the texture, and it's just so stunning to see. And also, I'm curious with the grapefruit. Was it a grapefruit that he threw?
Oranges.
Oranges. Was that in the rehearsal? Did you know that was going to happen? Because I love you. You have a great arm on you at the end, and I love that you get the final "forget you." But was that always the part of the plan?
I think that was Forrest's editing. That was Forrest because, I don't remember how the oranges started, but
He threw it at you, said, "Don't you throw that up here," and then he does, and then you catch it and you throw it back at him, and it's cut beautifully where it looks like you hit him right in the head.
Right, it's cut. I just remember us having to throw them many times. That's
Sure.
all I remember.
Sure.
And I think it was the Michael T. ad-lib and I go, "Don't you throw that up here." It was instinctual.
Wow.
And then Forrest was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have him throw it." And then you throw it back. And then he put the Romeo and Juliet over it, and all of that is brilliant. But yeah, that scene is very, very ad-libbed and fluid. Yeah.
I mean, him going up the stairs and not able to get up. You're like, it's locked, Troy. Like, it's just, there's so much happening and so much beautiful business. And also the words between you two is really stunning. And
it was important that Forrest wanted my character to hold her power in that scene. Because that was a scene where she kind of gets her power back in that relationship.
Absolutely. It's stunning. And last but not least, a scene that I've always loved when I first saw the film, and I think one that it's just hard to forget, is a scene where you're sitting at the pool with Savannah, played beautifully by Whitney Houston, and you talk about having an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also tells us something about Robin
Mm-hmm.
and her journey and what she's been through. How much conversation went into before you started filming that scene, and what was that for you when you knew that scene was going to be filmed on that day?
Hard. For me, where I was as an actor, that was really hard for me. Like you said, I had done mostly comedies. That's pretty much all I had done was comedies, and this was drama, and it was deep, and it was heavy, and it was real, and it was crying on a dime, and it was all those things. And I just thank God for Forrest being an actor's director who could really direct me. The growth I did as an actor on that film was 360, and learning from the best, because he is one of the best. And that day was really hard because I had made that character choice of that outfit. And there were some mean girls on the set telling me that I shouldn't wear that. And they really got in my head. And then I changed back. And then because the outfit was too little for me. But me and the wardrobe lady, we squeezed into it. It was like, I want to wear this. And they were like, "I don't think you should wear that. You can see your butt cheeks. I don't think you should wear that." And I was like, "Really?" Then I got insecure. And then next thing I know, producer comes in the trailer. "Why aren't you out there?" "Huh? What? Oh, I'm going right now." And so I got out, and Forrest, I don't know how this looks. I don't know if I feel right. He said, "Just go sit and rehearse." He took a picture, and he brought the Polaroid back. He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Oh, it looks good." He said, "Yeah. Don't let other people get in your head ever." So I ended up wearing that. And then I had to go and be dramatic. On top of that, 3 hours getting ready, which I could say I was a bad actor that day. I took 3 hours to get ready that day. And it was Waterworld. We were at a water park doing this scene with kids around us and noise and this and that. The scene was really difficult because we had a lot of obstacles. And, it was one of those days. Whitney was having a day, she was just having a hard day. And it was a difficult scene for me. So it was just hard, but we got through it. We ended up looping a lot of it.
Wow. It's such a beautiful scene between two friends about you, Robin, sharing something so private. And Savannah, because, Savannah is also very much in her own space, dealing with something. And she doesn't even really catch on. She's like, what show did you see? You say you saw this one again?
Right.
Not even realizing that her friend is trying to reveal something to her, very personal. And I think your performance is very quiet and very honest because you can feel the pain. You can feel the memory of that. And I think that's why that moment, even when I was very young watching the movie, hits me. But now, as a grown woman watching it again, I'm moved all over again. And a thing that always struck me that someone could argue, is this an on-the-nose choice? Either way, it's very intentional. You talk about looping. You hear the sound of a child looking for their mother in the background.
That's probably intentional. That's Forrest.
That's Forrest saying, if you don't get it, we're going to make sure you do.
Right.
About like saying, Mommy, have you seen my mommy? I think my mommy left me. And I think that layer, that added layer, that is such a distinctive decision to put in that scene is one that like you cannot let that moment pass you by because you hear that child in the background and you assume that they can hear the children.
Right.
And she's thinking about the child that she never got to meet.
And I think that is part of Robin's pain, that in making choices as an actor, we make choices. And my choice was that, obviously she had an abortion. Maybe she had more than one. And that man made her do it. My choice was I wanted my baby and he made me abort that baby. And I'm pained by that. And I'm struggling with that in every relationship. I'm struggling with that. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me that these men won't love me the way I deserve to be loved? And I think that was the struggle of her character. So that is her most painful scene, but it's so covered up because we don't always let our friends, even our best friends, know what we really feel. And so she's watching Savannah in this relationship that's going nowhere, that she knows is going nowhere. And she's trying to tell her without telling her, this is what happened to me.
Right.
And this is not going to end well for you.
Wow. Stunning. Jesus Christ. I mean, golly. And they're both wearing sunglasses as well. It's interesting. I'll tell you, you talk about the wardrobe and you wouldn't have known this, but this season of The Chi, we have two characters, two women sitting by a pool, having a conversation. And I asked our costume designer to mimic the costumes you and Whitney Houston wear in that scene.
Really?
As a way to pay tribute
nice.
to you, to that scene, to that memory. And so,
You make me cry.
I mean, we looked back at that photo as a reference. And look, they'll see this episode. People will know. It's always a wink. But I try to pay tribute to the movies and the TV shows that inspired me to tell stories. And watching the scene again, knowing that we paid tribute to it on the show, and hearing that your decision with that wardrobe choice, I'm grateful that Mr. Whitaker took a photo and showed it to you. because I think your wardrobe decisions, which has become a bit of a theme in this conversation, it helps you find the character. It helps you define the character.
It does. It does. It really helps me. For me, wardrobe, wig, makeup, like it's everything. Once I put all that on, it changes how I walk, how I feel inside, And I also think that scene works because Whitney wasn't having a great day that day. And that's kind of where her character is. And that she's fully covered. She's like, I'm wearing this.
Yeah.
This is all they get.
White shirt,
period,
off the shoulder, the blue pant, the sunglasses.
Oh yeah,
sipping.
Yeah, she gonna be Whitney.
Oh look,
this is all you getting.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, well.
How is that when you're dealing with the same partner that maybe is having their own movie or behind the scenes of the movie? What does one do?
First of all, I don't want anybody reading between any lines.
Oh, no.
Her and I we love each other.
Oh, yeah. But it's like sometimes that's the thing, 'cause I can be, love the person I'm with, but if I'm having a day,
yeah,
I'm like, give me a beat.
Right.
I'm going to show up for you as much as I can.
Right.
In this moment. But what advice would you give to an actor who is in with the same partner who maybe just be dealing with some stuff that has nothing to do with you or the set or but just more about people, because life happens while you're making these movies.
Oh, it's hard. And you just have to go, okay, all right, you're the number one. Get what you want. We cool. You have to rise above it.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, what you have is your work on film forever. And don't let that ever interfere with your performance. And people, I don't know now as much as when I was younger, they will try to get in your head, especially if they find you to be a threat.
Oh, I think it's really good advice. Look, I before we move to the next credit, I just want to ask, how did Waiting to Excel change your life?
Oh, where can we start? In every way. I thought Harlem Nights was it. It's never what you think it is. It's never what you think it is. I mean, I knew Excel was huge, obviously.
Yeah.
But anything can happen. And so I remember Loretta and I traveling and going off to promote the film. We did a lot of the grunt work, around the country.
Yeah.
And I was excited about everything, which probably got on Loretta's nerves. I was like, isn't this great, Loretta? We're going to be on Oprah, and we're going to do this, and we're doing that, and we're in Essence.
You're the ingenue. You're the young one.
The ingenue. She says, Lela, don't you get excited about all that, because I was in Dreamgirls, and you're going to end up right back in the room. I said, what you mean right back in the room? You mean I'm going to have to audition again? She's like, yeah. It's like, oh, no, I'm not. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Yeah, that doesn't happen for a few years, but then it happens. Eventually it happens again. Wow. But what was your question?
I didn't wait till Excel changed your life. You're like, child, how did it not?
Okay. Yeah. So we're walking through the airport, and I'm thinking, she said, Lela, this is going to be a hit unless something happens in the world, right? I'm like, okay.
Right.
And so when we were walking through the airport, and there were Persian women, white women, Spanish women, everybody in the airport. Oh, I saw Waiting to Excel. You go, girl. You go, girl. I said, oh, I think it's going to be a hit, Loretta. I think it's going to be a hit. I knew it was connecting to all women.
Everybody.
And that was huge. And so, yeah, and it was the 4 roles. This is the first time, films were changing because we were fully developed characters. That's the first time I had a character that changed from beginning, middle to end and had an arc. And so 4 leads, 4 Black female leads, it changed everything, opened the doors to the rom-com.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, there was no auditioning after that for a while, and I enjoyed it, and it was a long little movie run. So, yeah, it changed my life. Yes. Well, in every way.
Well, we thank you for that performance.
Oh, thank you.
For your presence on that screen, in those scenes, and so many other scenes. And working with Leon was also amazing. I don't want to discount those scenes either. But I'm just grateful I could talk to you about those 3 particular scenes that we got to talk about today, because those just to me stand out in such a way that I think sticks with all of us and will continue to stick with us forever. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Loving.
Hmm. That was on your list?
Yes, it was. I remember watching it like in real time and thinking I didn't know anything about that story. And I think it was the first time it had been a narrative story. I know there was a documentary. How much about that story did you know before going in to make that film?
I knew nothing. I never heard the story. I didn't know Loving versus Virginia. I didn't know the case. I didn't know it happened. So I just, get this script, and it's Richard Friedenberg who wrote A River Runs Through It. And I read it and I thought, oh, this is really good. And I was worried about, can I play 17? Because I think this is my first job after Exhale. And so I'm worried about, can I play 17? Because she played from 17 to 36.
Right.
And I had to read.
Oh.
Exhale wasn't out yet.
Okay.
They're telling him she's got this movie out, yada, yada, yada. Okay, well, come in. This is Timothy Hutton, baby. He won an Oscar. We need you to read.
Ordinary people.
Right, right. And so thank God Timothy was not there. But Richard, the director, was there, and I read with him, and I read only one time, and they offered me the role the next day. They went through the tapes. Timothy went through the tapes, and he said, you were the one. I saw your tape.
Well, understandable. I mean, you're a vision in the movie, and you're also, I mean, I completely buy you as you're so youthful and innocent and natural, and I think the movie as a whole is also just a very interesting watch. I think all the performances are really fantastic. It's also doing period is sort of its own thing that comes with it, and so I was curious for you, how was it? Does it not take a mental toll on you to play these scenes as a young Black woman at this time, facing what she's facing, and her just trying to be a free person and find love and live her life? How does that take a mental toll on you during the filming process?
Yes. I would get a little depressed because I sort of, and even hearing you say it out loud, I think I was playing characters that were something on the outside, and the inside they were something totally different. And they're in a sad place. Mr. and Mrs. Loving, she's in a very sad place. So I found myself just getting depressed and sad. And I'm in Toronto, and it's gloomy, and it's, by myself every day. And
There's a very intense sex scene in the backseat of the car.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm crying in every scene every day, And for me, I love that movie so much because my grandmother loved it. My grandmother's from the South, and she loved that movie. And for me, it tapped into my family being from Arkansas and be the Southern little country girl in the thing and use the outhouse. I knew what all that was. I knew what that was. So I got to really, I guess, be an authentic side of me, to play a side of me that was very real. I didn't know what it was like to be in love within an interracial relationship. But I just didn't, and that probably is why it works, because I just played it as I love him. It's not about color. And it wasn't to Mildred. It wasn't about any of that. And they kept asking, do you want to speak to her ahead of time? Because she was still living when we made the movie. And I was scared because as an actor, I had made all my choices. I had all my notes from every scene. And I was like, I don't want to talk to her yet because I don't want it to mess up my head. And I ended up speaking to her at the end of the movie. And when she got on the phone and I heard her voice, I went, oh, she sounds like me. It was just a place that she comes from, this really just sweet place, this sweet, pure, organic place of love and motherhood. And I wasn't a mother yet playing her, which was also very different, to have to tap into what I thought that was.
How was that for you?
Different, I might have played a mother here and there, but not
in that way.
Not in that way, and not in the way of their struggling and That was a hard movie, and it was a great movie because Timothy Hutton is one of the best actors that I have ever worked with.
I was just going to ask, what is that experience like playing with Timothy Hutton?
Well, I know he produced it and developed it, so maybe he had done his work somewhere else, but I never saw Timothy prepare. He just does it, and does it in a way where at that time I had to prepare and I had to have substitutions and I had to do a lot to get in the emotion of that scene. But once you're doing the scene, you got to forget all that and throw it away, right? So when I'm acting with him, he's just being. And so he's causing me to just be. And we're just having a great scene together.
Yeah.
And I think that he liked me and he respected me as an actor. And I think he demanded an actor's actor, because that's what he is. And I learned a lot from him about a lot of things. And I would be worried about, well, we didn't really talk in that scene. And I remember him coming to me and said, I want to show you something. And he puts on the scene where I'm by the outhouse and I come and it's cold and I tell him that I'm pregnant. And we say very few words.
Right.
And he said, that's your most powerful scene. You didn't even talk, really. He said, so much can be said by your emotion and your face. An actor doesn't always need to be talking. And I went, oh. And sometimes I learned that it's your thoughts in between the next line that the audience is watching you. Because they're always watching you. What is she thinking? Oh, she's making a decision. We got to see all that in your eyes.
Did you feel like you were a different actress walking onto that set after doing Waiting to Exhale?
Yes.
Did you have more confidence or more of a handle on your craft, would you say?
I felt like I was walking onto to that set at the time that I was supposed to walk onto it because I wouldn't have been ready before that to work with somebody like him. I would not have been ready because he was also very tough. He was very tough. So I needed to be tough. When you're a lead in films with guys, you better be tough because, you know why.
Yeah, you got to hold your own. But I think there is a confidence that you carry in that film, but it is a quiet one. It is a soft confidence. But I think in terms of your command over your talent and your performance is in such an interesting space that you can tell that that role is a culmination of all the things that you had done up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an important performance, obviously being based on a real person.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that there's something happening on screen that stays with you. Because I do remember it from watching it, but it was so nice to sit with those performances again. It's a really beautiful, beautiful film.
Thank you. I'm really proud of it. I gotta say, when they did Loving Again,
oh yeah,
it hurt like a dagger.
Wow.
Because they got to get Oscar nominations. And
Ruth Negga.
Right, who's wonderful, but
yes,
it was
of course.
because it was a film at the theater, and we did it as a Showtime movie.
Oh, okay,
I think, I think it was a Showtime movie. So that's a different category,
right?
So I was like,
is that something that's important to you? Awards and things like that, and those sort of campaigns.
I think if any actor says it's not important to them, they're lying. Yeah, it's important. Everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to be recognized, especially when you've been in the business a long time. You want to be acknowledged for your work, but you want to be deserving of it too. And a lot of these awards are not, they're political. They've got things involved. They're whatever. It's nothing I lose any sleep over, but it would be nice. But it would be nice to have a role that is a platform for it. How about that part?
Absolutely. I hear what you're saying. And is there an element that, because I remember when they did the Loving movie, the new one that they did, I remembered yours. And so is there something to, because they just did Piano Lesson again. Mm-hmm. And I remember the Alfred Woodard version that was on maybe a TV movie, if you will.
Right.
Is there something to you feeling as if you sort of pioneered that story, or would they even be able to do that movie again because people knew about it in a way that you didn't know about it before you did the film? And I definitely was educated about that story because of your film. So when it came up again, I knew what they were talking about because of your movie.
Right.
Is there a sort of pride in that you have?
It is, because you know what? It's only for those who know they know.
Right. Can we talk about gang related?
Oh yeah, we could talk about gang related. Yes, we can. Gang related.
Gang related. You opened the movie. When we sat with Vivica Fox, she talked about being an Independence Day and playing a sex worker. You know, Honora is all the rage now.
Honora, right?
Okay, but Vivica was an Independence Day, you know, doing her thing on the pole, and Gang Related opens with you on stage
On the pole.
dancing. And your Jim Belushi is your love interest. Obviously, Tupac is in the film as well. When Jennifer Lewis was here, we talked about her working with him in Poetic Justice. How did Gang Related come to you?
Gang related was interesting. And I will say I credit my agent after I did Exhale, and you said, how did it change? Is I was able to get roles that were written for white women. And that was a game changer. You know, the John Grisham film, The Chamber, was written for a white woman. Gang Related was written for a white woman. And I think they were going to go with Daryl Hannah at first or something. And my agent convinced them, it's like, she's a stripper. She can be anybody. She can be anybody. And they didn't make me read. It was after Exhale. I came in, I had a meeting, and I talked them into why it didn't matter what she was. Why are we talking about color? You know, it's just a role. She's Jim Belushi's love interest.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, for them, it was like, let's get Tupac, let's get Lela. It's going to be cool. You know, they were being cool. They were doing something different, you know. So, yeah.
Wow. What were you nervous at all having to do that?
The stripping.
Yeah.
At first, I was very excited. I was very excited because I felt like it went to my dancer roots. And I always wanted to dance in a film, but never really got that chance. And this was as close as I was going to get. And so I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a dancer. You know, I'm going to go, you know me. I went to the strip club. I researched the stripping. I looked at them upside down. I told the director, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I want you to get me on the pole upside down. I'm going to hang and I'm going to drop. We're going to get that. Man, I tried to climb up that pole and hang upside down. I was like, oh, this is hard.
Yeah.
Much respect to the strippers. This is hard. This is a talent. Okay, I am a dancer. I'm not a gymnast. And so I couldn't believe how hard it was. And then I was like, I'm going to need a choreographer. And they called Eartha, you know, and I was like, I need a choreographer and I need some help. Then I remember crying really hard because, you know, you get the movie, you maybe have a few weeks to get ready for it. I think I had a couple. And I was like, yo, I'm about to be in a G-string on film. I need to train. I need a minute, okay? I've been on vacation. I just came back from Jamaica. I need a minute. So there I go. I do 3 hours in the morning with a trainer, 2 hours at night. I got myself in shape in 10 days. I don't think I ate for 10 days and worked out 5 hours a day. And I cried because they wanted to do the strip scene the first day. And I kept saying, why can't we do it at the end? Give me time to get in shape. Let's do it at the end. Nope. We have the location locked. We can't change it. We got to do it the first day.
Damn.
And then I was thinking, somebody's lying to me. They just want to see, am I going to come out with the pasties and really go for it the first day? And then after I begged everybody in the world, I realized, okay, well, they can't change it. Rise up. This is it. So, yeah, I was on the Met-Rex shakes for 10 days.
Well, you're very convincing. You're amazing. You kill it. What was it like? There's a scene with you and Jim Belushi, like having, you know, you guys are in bed and you're having a conversation and you're asking him if he thinks about you too. And he sort of gives you this whole speech. There's a really sort of comfortability that you seem to have with him. Is that...
I'm trying to remember the scene.
Yeah. What were you... excited to work with him in that capacity? Were you nervous at all working with him?
I
Or
wasn't nervous at all.
it was just, I'm going to take on this woman? Because the character is throughout the film. I mean, Cynthia is a pretty
A lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that to me was exciting to see you in this action thriller. It's like these cops, and you're holding your own, and you get a lot of real estate in that film. And it is surprising that you're with Jim Belushi, and like people may assume you're gonna be Tupac's love interest.
Right.
So you really are breaking your own barriers. And I'm just curious if you were thinking about those things as you were filming this movie.
Well, by the time I did that film, I had done opposite Timothy Hutton. I had done the film with Gene Hackman and Faye Dunaway and Chris O'Donnell. I did opposite him. I was doing opposite all the white boys. So by the time I got to this, I was ready.
Oh, hey.
Okay, it's just another one, and let me just do my thing and try to shine. What the one person that made me nervous was James Earl Jones. And we have the scene where he interrogates me on the stand, and for me, it's my favorite scene.
Wow.
It always was.
Was that something that you could only dream about?
Completely.
Because did you ever think you would be in a scene with James Earl Jones?
No. No.
Were you nervous that morning?
Yes. I was excited. I was nervous and excited because I knew that when you're acting with somebody like James Earl Jones, he's going to see through you. He's going to see through you. So you better bring it. And I remember us having a scene when we did the court scene, and I was doing my takes, and he just stayed in character. He didn't talk much to me. It was just pleasantries. And when we got the take, you got it. And I was like, oh, thank you. Can I have a tissue? And when we finished that, he said to me on another day when we were working, he said, I want you to do Cat on the Hot Tin Roof with me. We're redoing that. And I was like, wow, I think I passed the test. And I wanted to do it, and I think I was pregnant by the time they did it. So that didn't happen.
Well, I think it's so interesting because you talked about acting not being your dream, but it seems as your career obviously flourished and bloomed that you just continued to take it more and more seriously and understood the responsibility that was coming with the purpose that had been placed on your life, and that it may not have been what you thought, but it clearly was what you were destined to do, because to be opposite someone like James Earl Jones, as well as everyone else in the cast, but he is such a legend and icon. For him to see you and say that you were good, I think speaks to the fact that you really did hone that craft.
I worked really hard.
Yeah.
I worked really hard, especially, the unsung things I did, like theater at Marla Gibbs Theater and Inner City, and all the things that I did once I decided to be an actor. I worked really hard because I felt like I needed to play catch up. I'm getting the opportunity before I'm really trained to do it. So I was working backwards. And I think that's what made me so ambitious and hungry, because I wanted to prove myself. Because I remember doing this play, and I remember having this really tough choreographer and director who were very hard on me. And they really picked on me. And she said to me one day, I'm picking on you because you have all the potential. You have everything that people can't buy. But you can't just have looks. You need to be good, because your looks will fade. And at the end of the day, you have to be good. You have to be talented. And people would say that to me all the time. So I was like, I have to be good. They're going to think I can't act. I have to be good, because they don't expect people to look a certain way and be a great actor.
Right.
You're either one or the other.
Right.
But that's not always true.
Right.
Like Sharon Stone, she had to really go out and prove she could act, because people sort of give you the opportunity before you're really ready for it. So I've always taken it really seriously. And my pet peeve today are young actors who don't study. And I'm like, so you think you're an actor? Why? Because you have a great Instagram account? Do you know what you're doing?
So real. I mean, this next movie I want to talk about is also a period piece. And it's a movie that I saw in the movie theater. And I'm grateful that I did. And it's one of my favorite movies, I'm going to say, of all time.
What?
Why Do Fools Fall in Love?
Really?
I love this movie so much. And I think it's because I got to have that experience with my friends without my mom having to take me.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and like 5 of us, like in high school, going to see this film and being educated about Frankie Lyman
Mm-hmm.
because I was unaware of who he was. Or
We all were.
okay, I was like, were you aware
We all were.
of this story? 'Cause-
I know Vivica didn't know either, right? We all, none of us knew.
I asked Vivica, I said, did you know about this story? She was like, no. But to me, it was so iconic to see you, Vivica Fox, Halle Berry, Lorenz Tate
Mm-hmm.
on that screen. And the music, your performance is very stunning. Someone who kind of comes around in third act and kind of is a bit of a surprise for us, those flashbacks. What was making that movie like for you, and how did it come into your life?
That movie was rough. I don't know how they felt about it, but
I haven't talked to Halle, talked to Vivica.
for me, it's so funny. It's one of those things you appreciate later. But making it, you're just in it and you're just roughing it. It was hard. And I always felt it wasn't as hard for me because I didn't feel like my role was as big as the other two. And I don't know if Vivica told you, but we all wanted Zola. Everybody wanted to play Zola. It was a fight for Zola, and it was a lot of round of who was going to play what. And they had actually cast a couple other people. And for whatever reason, I don't know what happened. And then they came back, and then Halle and I were at it. Actually, I'm going to tell the story. So it was Toni Braxton and Queen Latifah and Vivica were doing Why Do Fools Fall in Love. And for whatever reason, they didn't want to do it. It didn't work out. I don't know. But we had all went in and tested for, well, I know I had the role Vivica got. Vivica was cast as Zola at first. And then when the other two fell out, they're like, oh, the movie's opening up again. I said, oh, is it? And they said, they want you to read for Amira. And I said, what? Again? I don't know. Because having to read, it was still like, really? This is far in.
Well, look, I'm grateful that it was you and Vivica and Halle.
Me too.
Because that is the way I remember buying it immediately on DVD and just watching it all the time. I think your performance in the film is such a beautiful, it's the trifecta, obviously, but you complete it. Mm-hmm. In that your character, who is a real person, I'm curious, did you get to meet her?
Yes, I did.
What was that like?
Oh, wow. She was great. She was happy I was playing her. She was a lovely, lovely lady. I remember her coming to the premiere. And I can't remember much else, but the reason I say the movie was hard was because of the prosthetics.
Oh, yeah. You had to age. They age you.
We had to age. And there's a friendliness, but there's also a competitiveness when you're doing a movie.
Sure.
And it's not always exhale roses and flowers. Sometimes it's like me, Vivica, and Halle at that time were always in competition. And then we have to come together and work together. And we have to shine together when everybody's trying to shine themselves. So it's interesting. It was just a weird energy, but it was a good energy because we were all really committed to what we were doing. And we were all so different. Even though we're always up for the same things, we were all so different and had our own unique way of working and getting to know each other. And I think by the time we all got really comfortable with that, it was over. Oh. And then you want more, and then it's over. It's like, okay, I get you now, and I get you now. I love you, girl. And and then it's over. But
that's kind of how the movie works.
Right. And I think, you know what? And I think it started with one, that's what the movie's about.
Yeah.
So that weird energy was carrying through a little bit. I don't know if either one of them are going to admit that, but I'm going to tell the truth. That's how I felt. And then the confusion started with the casting. And when you start with it being that confusing, you got somebody in a role who really wants to be another role, because actually originally Allie was Amira. Allie was Amira, and then they wanted me to test for Zola. I forget. It was making me dizzy. But they just could not decide because it's not an African American director who knew our culture and knew us. Sometimes they think we're all the same. Just pick one.
Wow.
And we're different.
Right. Well, when Vivica was here, she talked about her frustration with the box office. So, and I remember, like I said, I did see it in the movie theater, and yeah, it could have been more packed. But I also remember seeing Eve's Bayou in an empty theater. I saw Love Jones in an empty movie theater. So I think for me, being a young person, I wasn't really fazed by how many people were sitting around me.
Right.
I was more, clearly zoned in on what was in front of me and what was happening. And the fact that those films that I just mentioned, whether it be Why Do Fools Fall in Love, Eve's Bayou, or Love Jones, I put them into a very similar category in terms of films that have endured and films that had a direct impact on me as a writer and as an artist. And
yeah,
so
it didn't do well at the time.
And Vivica was very, Vivica got an ego about that. Vivica's like, she did not really talk so much about the making of it. She was like, look, we made the movie. It was clearly a lot of star power in the movie, and it didn't do what I felt it needed to do. She said they put us out at a weird time, and we were going up against something else that just didn't make sense. And so, and I understood that frustration, but there is a thing when you talk to Black folks about Why Do Fools Fall in Love, they're like, oh yeah, we know it. Because
they got to see it later.
Yes, that's the thing. That's the thing. Because it was that situation where you could buy the DVD, it would come on TV, and then everybody was like, "Oh, this is good. This is amazing." So that was more what she talked about the most in our conversation with her.
Yeah, she was very disappointed.
And yeah, but do you think it's also because they didn't know how to promote a movie like that? That's period. It's also about someone that folks just did not know.
All I could say is, was really interested about this. And this is not a brag, this is just real, is Why Do Fools Fall in Love, gang related with Tupac,
right?
And I did a movie called Knockoff with Jean-Claude Van Damme. They all came out the same month or the next month, like September, October, like all together. And I think each of them had a $5 million opening weekend, which was disappointing. And I was like, I'm in 3 movies. And at that time, you kind of go, and Beloved came out at that time. Right. You go, do we have too many movies now? We went from none to now we have too many. Like, is it too many? I don't know. I didn't know which one to promote.
Well, I love Why Do Fools Fall in Love. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm grateful that you got through it and you did it. My favorite scene is at the end when they decide to come together and they start singing the song together. And
that was a fun day. That was one of the fun. When we worked together, it was really fun. The courtroom, those scenes, we had a great time. Yes. But it was just, for many really, we were shooting in the middle of El Nino, so the schedule would change every day. And then, it was just always something. It was just a overly long shoot.
Well, we're grateful for it. Thank you. Because it was worth the struggle.
It was a struggle.
Last but not least, this is a movie I remember seeing in the movie theater, and it was not empty at all. There were a lot of people, a lot of guys, a lot of energy. And I'll never forget the experience, the first time me seeing this movie at a movie theater, because it was so just a lot of energy and a lot of noise. Any Given Sunday.
Any Given Sunday.
It was just an amazing experience at the movie theater for obvious reasons. It is a Oliver Stone film.
Oliver Stone
in every sense of the word. What is it like being directed by Oliver Stone?
The highlight of my career. There are few like those directors, to have that experience, to be in an Oliver Stone film and be directed by Oliver Stone film, we've talked about many things, but when I really felt like I made it was getting that film with Oliver Stone. Because there's no faking it. Period. And yes, he made me read. So Loretta was right. I ended up back in the room.
Of course, Miss Devine is right about everything.
What talking about? Yes, but it was like, Oliver Stone, what time? Where I gotta be?
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go.
It started off as a meeting. A couple times it was a meeting. And then it was like, I'm going to need you to read with Jamie.
Jamie Foxx, that is.
Understandably so. So, and Jamie was a newbie in film. I think that was Jamie's first film, or I don't know, lead film. It was big for both of us, really big for him, really big for him. So when we be rehearsing, Oliver be writing. He'd be writing notes, It was just an amazing experience because he, I remember us rehearsing the kitchen argument scene through the house with a steady cam and the whole thing. And oh, I can't tell that story. But I remember us doing the scene, and I remember Oliver pulling Jamie to the side. And then I remember him telling me, Lela, he always called me Lela. It's Lela for everybody watching. It's Lela. He would go, Lela, don't burn out. Don't burn out, because I was coming with it. I've been ready for this. I've rehearsed this. I got this. I was prepared. Jamie was with the book in the corner doing this. And I remember Oliver going to me, he said, she's eating you up. She's eating your ass up, man. Come on. Come on. Yeah, Jamie, I said it. Yeah. And I was like, I'm prepared. I wasn't getting cussed out by Oliver Stone.
Okay.
So I see Jamie in the corner. He's struggling, da-da-da-da-da. But trust me, when that camera went and we had another chance, he was ready. Because I had been told I had gone to the Actors Studio, invited by Michael T. Williamson, who we talked about earlier, who was doing Heat with Al Pacino. He invited me to the Actors Studio to watch Al Pacino speak on Shakespeare. And when I was there, he said that he expected everybody in the film to know all the lines, not just yours. You need to know everybody's lines. So I had really gotten into that script. And I remember spending a day, which was amazing. It was Jamie and I, Elizabeth Berkley, and Al Pacino in this house in Fort Lauderdale with Oliver. And we were going to rehearse in this house all day. And to watch him work was like, am I watching Scarface? Like, I'm watching Al Pacino. There's no better acting class than that. Except one time I took an acting class at Gene Hackman's home, which was amazing. And so
May he rest.
Yes, may he rest in peace. And just the Al Pacino experience was just amazing with the Oliver experience, because, Oliver wrote Scarface and the whole connection. And it was just a great set to be on. And Oliver went hard. Like we were shooting nights, and he said, I want you to start waking up all day, and I need you to sleep all night. I need you to be up all night. I need you to sleep all day, because I don't want you tired when we do this. I want you guys to work. And I remember we would come out, and the sun would be coming up. And Oliver, let's go to Liquid. Let's go to the club. And me and Jamie look at each other like, no, ma'am, that is not going to happen today. Isn't this guy tired?
Wow.
He was 100 miles an hour. Yeah.
Well,
but very strict, very like,
Clearly. You're amazing in the movie. And this is like before the TV show, The Game, or Basketball Wives. Like,
right.
You really humanize what it is to be the quarterback. He becomes the quarterback. Their girlfriend, because that's another big moment, that you two aren't married.
No.
And there's an insecurity in that. And obviously the other wives are telling you, girl, you got to get a ring, don't play around. And you really do, I think, embody that young, smart, she has a brain of her own. She has a life. and she's trying to be supportive, and they're both thrown into the lion's den. Not just him.
Yes.
She is as well. And obviously we see how it takes a toll on their relationship and how it breaks them up. That scene between y'all in the kitchen is phenomenal. You know, where she says, my friend will probably fuck me better than you. What did
I say that?
You did, because he makes a joke about like you go with your friend and like a lesbian thing, and it's just you feel like a real couple. How did you and Jamie bond offset to make sure that chemistry felt real on screen?
You know, Jamie makes you laugh. He made me laugh, and that day we were rehearsing all day. He told me joke after joke after joke, and he probably loved it because I laughed at everything. I laughed at everything. He just kept me laughing. Then he'd get on the piano, then he'd sing, and then and by the time I think Oliver and Al came out, he was asleep. He had worn his little self out entertaining me. And I was just like, we were friends. We got along really well. It was very friendly. It was good. It was a good environment. It was interesting because Oliver watches you when you don't think you're watching. He's watching you. And I remember I was struggling in one of the scenes, I think with the women. And he said to me, Lela, just think about the way you looked at Cameron. I said, what do you mean? How did I look at Cameron Diaz?
Yes.
Right. And I said, what do you mean, how did I look at her? Like, I wasn't aware. How did I look at her? But I couldn't really ask. And I said, well, how did I look at her? He said, you remember. And I said, oh, I was staring. I must have been staring. And I was staring because I was looking at what is the epitome of Hollywood at that moment. She's the it girl. And she's sweet and she's kind. She's fun. She's getting $10 million. And I'm going, I want to see what that looked like from head to toe. And I guess I was staring. But I guess he picked it up that there was some sort of insecurity, or I don't know what he read into what I was thinking, but he said, I want you to have that look you had that day. And I was like, well, what in the hell was that look?
Well, there's that great scene where you have all been invited, I think, to the mayor's house or someone. You're
the
space.
House.
Yeah.
It was shot at the Al Capone mansion in Miami, like some historic place. Yes.
I mean, and you don't look overwhelmed, but you look as if you have become a small fish in a big pond.
I was going to say a fish out of water. And I think maybe that's what I felt like. Because I'm on this set and, my role wasn't big in that movie. I had to fight really hard for that role.
It's monumental, though. I remember you so distinctively watching that movie.
But I'm in a movie directed by Oliver Stone with Al Pacino and Cameron Diaz and all these people. And every time I meet somebody, I'm looking at them. You look at them like they're little aliens because you've been seeing them your whole life. And here I am, Okay, here we are.
Wow.
It's the fish out of water feeling because, I really didn't get into doing a lot of the low budget movies. I kind of started with Eddie Murphy and kind of did those movies.
You stayed there. Yeah.
I stayed there. So it was always one magical experience after another.
Right. Well, I think what continues to show up, even though, yes, you've had leading roles as well, and those stay with us. But even the movies where you're in there for maybe a few scenes or maybe there's a couple things, but they're always pivotal and they're always memorable and they always stand out. And I remember obviously watching that movie for the first time and seeing you there. I think I wasn't alone when we all kind of felt, oh, there's Lela.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying
to
do something different.
With the braids, going on. Like,
I tried to get the braids.
No,
I tried to,
It's like, there's our beauty. There she is.
Because I was like, okay, let me be the girl, the home girl that he met in Terrell, Texas. And, we done made it to the NFL. Let me be that girl. I was trying to be that girl. And Oliver's like, I don't know about the braids. I don't know.
No, the braids
I was like, I fought for the braids.
I love the braids. I love the braids.
Yeah.
The braids feel very,
Yeah.
as girl next door as you can be.
I was trying.
Because you're not the girl next door.
Yeah, I was
You just
trying not
aren't.
to get typecast. I was trying to do different characters. I was trying to step out of the zone on every role. I tried to do something different. And as not as huge as that role was, trust me, I wasn't the only one that ended up in the room reading for that. So to get that was big for me.
And what did you think when you saw the movie?
What did I think? I just remember thinking it was really good.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it was really good, and it was really fun. It was a good time.
Yeah.
And it was good.
Yeah. That's always, you never know with those movies. You're like, how's it going to turn out?
You never know.
And y'all, it just was
I got stopped on the carpet by Al, and he said, "You're really great in that movie with Jamie." And I said, "Okay, enough said. I'm good for life. I'm good for life."
That James Earl Jones, you got Eddie Murphy.
life.
Come on.
Good for life.
Last question. What is your definition of a really great actress?
A really great actress? I think one with range and somebody who can play anything.
I think you fit that definition. You do. As I think back about this conversation and then preparing for it, which has been such a joy and a gift, you are someone who your career could have almost been one note, just because of how you were born and how you were blessed and how you just walk through the world. I can see people wanting to just cast you as the pretty girl. And I think what I'm grateful for is that you fought to be more than that.
I did. I felt because, beauty fades, and I knew I had to bring more than that, because, and you're not always everybody's ideal beauty. I remember reading for Aaron Spelling, and I was not his idea of beauty. I had too much of this and too much of that, too many curves. His idea of beauty was this, so you're not always everybody's idea of beauty either. But and I can't play everything. No one can. We're right for what we're right for. And if I'm right for it, I'm going to give you my best in every moment. I'm going to give you my best work. I'm never going to be unprepared. And I'm going to really try to come up with a character. I think that's the fun thing.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it all. To write your bio of your character, to make it up. Who are you? Where you come from? Who do you want? What do you want? Why do you want it? All that's interesting to me.
Well, I think you've created so many memorable characters. It's time and time again. And for you to do it so many times in so many important, pivotal films, culture-shifting films, you continue to show up. And again, this morning, as I was sort of thinking about where you sit in our American lexicon of cinema, you absolutely are, for my generation, what Lena Horne was and what Dorothy Dandridge was for their generations, where we as a community could point to someone and say, you cannot deny our beauty, and you can't deny our talent, and you can't deny that we existed, because you can't look away from her, and she is one of ours.
And I thank you so much for saying that, because often I have felt overlooked and forgotten. And the fact that you see me, and you see me here, and you invited me here, means the world to me.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Okay, now
you.
that's a cut.
Legacy, oh, legacy.